3I Atlas. What is it? Well, we're going to talk about
Well,
what NASA won't tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, I've got David Drew with us today. David Drew is a genius when it comes to electric universe cosmology, amongst other things, plasma cosmology. You should check out his website, plasmacosmology.net. He recently did a video with the Thunderbolts project describing 3I Atlas and its electrical nature. I was blown away. I've been following this thing since I first heard about it. Actually, I was one of the first people to report on 3I Atlas outside of Professor Loeb. And man, you knocked it out of the park. The really interesting thing about this, David, is the way people are divided. You've got half that says it's just a comet, there's no way it's anything else. And then the other half says it's an alien spacecraft. So I can't prove either of those are wrong yet. But I think now that we got you on the show, you're going to explain to us in great detail. We're going to also look at the 10 anomalies that Professor Loeb has presented with the traditional cosmology of comets. And David is going to share with us how those absolutely make sense with the electric universe cosmology. So David, it is an honor to speak with you. How the heck are you?
I'm good, very good.
Good.
But thank you for the flattering introduction. But I'm not claiming to be a genius. I'm very much an amateur enthusiast in all of this. There are plenty of very clever people associated with the Thunderbolts project, no doubt about it, from an electrical engineering and cosmology background. But I'm very much an enthusiastic amateur, and I like to try and communicate and summarize a lot of this material.
I appreciate that. Fake it until you make it is what I've heard. So
Well,
that's so cool, man. So cool. And thank you very much. And really looking forward to this. Let's get into it. So first of all, tell us a little bit about you and your background and your knowledge base that links towards plasma cosmology and the electric universe, please.
well, I've actually worked in IT most of my life, so I've not actually worked directly in any of these fields, but I've had a long interest in astronomy, cosmology, the philosophy of science. I first got involved with the Electric Universe project back in the early 2000s when I put up my website, plasmacosmology.net, back around about 2005. And it's been an interesting ride since then. Oh,
Here
the
is
sound.
your website. I'm showing off your website right now so everybody can check it out.
Okay,
And
sure.
so you did a video and then things just kind of went from there. And you've been researching it pretty extensively since then, I would say. I mean, you've got a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah.
I've written quite a few blogs in the last couple of years. I've narrated a few of those, handed them over to the Thunderbolts project, and then they've turned them into videos. I used to have my own channel back in the early 2000s, Soup Dragon, but unfortunately that got taken out by YouTube, Google. I've never been able to recover it, which is a little frustrating, but
Sure.
these things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now might be the time to get it back. I've gotten a lot of emails from people that had their videos taken down recently or previously a few years ago, and their channels have been put back up. So hopefully that's a good sign for now and for the future. Appreciate that. And so let's just jump right in, David. Like let's start with the first interesting anomaly that is referenced by many people with traditional cosmology, 3I Atlas. Absolutely incredible. So what is your thoughts on 3I Atlas? Let's talk a little bit about that first before we start breaking things down. Like
Quite
yeah.
Sure. Quite simply, it displays all the features of a classical electric comet, which we've been talking about since going back decades. You've had Wolf Fauna on your show a few times, haven't you?
I did. I had Wall on the show 3 different times
Okay.
before he went to the other side. And rest in power, Wall. You're a legend, man.
Sure.
Very, very nice guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Did you talk to him about comets at all?
Not much. Yeah, very, very little. We were talking more about like the planets and potentially how Saturn and Jupiter and Uranus may have been like activated as stars at one point. I remember that was the most intriguing thing about the interview that I did with him that I just remember off the top of my head. And I thought, wow, incredible.
Yeah, I mean, the electric universe, it goes a bit further into the mythological side of things than plasma cosmology, the plasma universe, but they share more similarities than differences. But back in 2005, Wall made a few specific predictions about Comet Temple 1. I don't know if you're aware of those at all.
That was the one in 2005 that NASA actually did. I watched your video on this. So NASA went to that comet and they discovered more likely plasma cosmology versus just direct gas shooting in,
Sure.
correct?
They crashed something into it, and while Thornhill predicted beforehand, he said that basically there would be a much brighter flash than anticipated, that the impact crater would be much smaller, and that as a result of the electrical interactions, the satellite feed would probably break down temporarily. The electromagnetic interaction would create a kind of a cushioning effect and the flash, and that's exactly what came to pass. So that was early demonstrated the early predictive power of the electric universe. And
Okay.
when we look at comets now, um, we hear a lot of alien speculations, which which is all fascinating. The whole alien thing is fascinating enough, but I think in many respects it only serves as a deflection, rather than any meaningful discussion about the failure of the predictions relating to the dirty snowball hypothesis. The focus in the mainstream media is on, is it an alien spacecraft, or an alien satellite, or what have you. But I think most of the features that 3i Atlas has displayed so far are a classical electrical phenomena in a plasma universe.
Well, I mean, first of all, that's not going to be nearly as exciting as a mothership, but it's still really exciting. I'm
No,
fascinated. I mean, I think it's incredible. And so there's definitely some things that I'm still questioning with the plasma cosmology, et cetera, that you've explained. For example, the orbit of it, I find just fascinating. And I'd like to get your take on, or the trajectory, the way that it's maneuvering, it seems like almost around certain planets and not hitting planets. But I was also really amazed by the math, like the percentages that Professor Loeb came up with, in saying that there's a 0.5% chance or whatever that this would be making this movement if it was not artificial. And then I had another rocket scientist on the show, Greg Allison, really nice guy, but he's more of the traditional cosmology of the universe and comets. Being a contractor at NASA, obviously he was
sure.
but he came up with similar percentages, like similar equations when it came to some of the numbers that the Professor Loeb had put out there. And I asked, how did you get that? And he said, it's hairy math, Rex. And I'm not going to question him because he really is brilliant. But so let's get into that if we can. So like the first anomaly that is referenced by Professor Loeb is its retrograde trajectory being aligned within 5 degrees with the ecliptic plane of the planets around the sun. He says there's a likelihood of 0.2% of that. What is your take on that, please? And Diamond made it from the chat, so I'm just going to bring him in. And hey, Diamond, good to see you, brother. Thanks for joining us. Good. How you doing?
Good to be here. Thank you
Good.
for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Hi.
Thank you for making it. So, Diamond, David, Diamond. We're at number 1 right now with the anomalies of 3i Atlas in the traditional model of cosmology.
Sure. I mean, I've heard Avi Loeb quoting a few fairly random figures. I mean, a lot of these mathematicians, they're brilliant people, but you can always play around with mathematics, to come up with to support various ideas. And this figure of, as a 0.2 or 0.5 chance of 3i Atlas coming in on the ecliptic. Well, there's 360 degrees in a circle. So, there's a 1 in 360 chance that it could arrive on the ecliptic plane, as I see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
And the thing about it coming in on the ecliptic is it's easier to spot than asteroids coming in from above or below us, because most of the telescopes are trained on our local planets. So it's just that we picked up on it more quickly. I think that the fact that they can come in from any random angle, the fact that it's on an ecliptic plane is just that, random, really.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more by what you said there. You have to think about it this way. We've only been observing objects in space for so many decades. And it's only been recently we can spot these objects far away, like 3I Atlas was spotted far away, beyond Jupiter. And it was outbursting then beyond Jupiter, and they still are using the dirty snowball model. And the impossibility of a dirty snowball to be sublimating past Jupiter is not in their purview. It's insane. Not only that, we've only ever observed 3 interstellar objects. So to go out on a limb and say that this is unique or odd is just dumb. It's just dumb.
That's right. I mean, 3I, that's literally what it means. It's only the 3rd interstellar object that we've observed. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more flown around in recent decades and we've missed them, but obviously our telescopes are much better now, and one thing and another. Yeah, I mean, these speculations are becoming, it's all going a bit crazy. And the fact that it flared so far from the sun, again, that speaks to electrical interactions, because it's too distant, too cold out there for it to be just sublimation. It speaks to electrical interactions because that comet is moving through differential plasma electromagnetic fields, which are at all distances. They're double the brightening and the color changes. I think it all relates to a simple plasma phenomenon known as double layers.
Yeah, and its proximity to the sun, and when it got into its closest approach, and then when we saw it off the backside of the sun, when it became visible, it was 7 times brighter than it should have been. That is the key there. All of these observations are predicted by the Electric Comet model, that as the comet is traveling through an electrical field, it is responding. And so we would see an acceleration if it is the opposite charge of that field that it's moving in as it gets to perihelion. We would see brightening. And what I find interesting is, and David, please talk to this. In the last decade, we visited comets. They show a barbell structure, which is indicative of plasma scouring. And it's explained in the Electric Comet model. And we even struck a comet recently, and it did all of the things that Wall Thornhill suggested. There would be an outburst before it hit. The crater would be smaller than we thought. All of these things occurred. And by the way, there's no ice on these comets. They are terrestrial rocks that have been shot into space, by the way. So, I mean, how can astrophysicists and these astronomers be so naive, not know about the Electric Comet model, and not know about all these things that you and I can speak freely about?
Well, let me jump in on that real quick. And I just wanted to make a comment because, like, obviously Greg Allison, Greg's a really nice guy. Greg's he's a genius. He's literally genius. I mean, he's working on stuff right now for defense contractors that he can't even talk about. He launched a rocket into space that made the Guinness records in 2000. I mean, he's brilliant. And he's looking at the traditional cosmology as well. I had brought up the EU cosmology to him, and it's almost like it didn't really register. And not that he didn't understand it, but just that he was taught differently. So I think in credit of people that are genius and or really smart and not looking at this model, it has to do with their upbringing and their education and the people that they've been around and just the information that was previously available. Now, with that said, I think that it's definitely something that they should look into. And maybe with us doing this podcast, people like Professor Loeb and Greg and others that haven't really studied the electric universe or plasma cosmologies will start to do so more. But I think that, when we bring up the ecliptic and the location and the trajectory of this comet, there's people in the chat that I'm even reading the comments, like it's not really, they're not convinced, which is fine, which is totally cool. So I'm just trying to think of how could we explain it better, if it is a natural trajectory from an electrical comet. Like, how could we describe that in better detail so that they could pick that up and like, okay, I get it now. It's not necessarily an alien spacecraft.
Sure. I mean, getting back to the mathematics of it, yeah, sure. There's a lot of very clever people, but the basic problem with plasmas and electromagnetism is that they're very difficult, almost impossible to they're not amenable to mathematics. They're too random. It's like Hannes Alfvén used to say, you know, the laws of mathematics are very elegant, very beautiful, but it's only plasma itself that that doesn't understand how beautiful they are and refuses to follow these elegant mathematical laws, you know, straight off the bat. And we discussed Comet Tempel 1 a bit earlier before Diamond came on. Yeah, while Thornhill made a number of successful predictions there, but they're still denied in a lot of quarters. It's amazing. You know, I've seen debunking videos from the Y-files and here and there. They said they looked for them, but they couldn't find the predictions. It's bizarre. They're well documented.
Why do you think that is? What do you think? Do you think it's just because they don't want to rewrite the textbooks, or do you think it's like,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very much so. Comets are considered the Rosetta Stone of the universe, of the solar system. So if they have to admit that there's problems with their model, that they've got it wrong, then it kind of says, oh, perhaps we need to start over. And that's a bit uncomfortable. We're looking at a paradigm shift in the making, the beginning of a paradigm shift, and that's obviously very uncomfortable for a lot of vested interests and experts.
yeah, Rex, you and I talked about this the other day. So we have a standard model of cosmology that is science fiction. There's an imaginary Oort cloud somewhere on the outside of the solar system, and this is and Jupiter is responsible for all cometary action. It's just nonsense. The reality is that these rocks, asteroids or comets, the only difference between the two is that one is charged. So comets have an electrical charge or are discharging when asteroids are not discharging. They're just rocks floating around. So maybe they've done all their discharging. Regardless, they're just terrestrial rocks. So all of these objects came from planets that were destroyed in a catastrophe. We have evidence in our own solar system right here. It's called the asteroid belt that occurred here. And so these rocks are being created all the time. And the ones that are created in especially electrically charged environments are comets. And there are interstellar comets. We describe this like if a body 1/3 the size of the Earth hit us head on at 100,000 miles an hour, objects would be ejected out of the solar system at relativistic speeds. These are interstellar objects. And now
Well, what's happening here, though?
We lost you, Diamond. We got interstellar objects. He'll probably be back in a minute. It might be the internet connect. There you are. Hey, we lost you for a second, buddy. You said interstellar objects, and then you froze up.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. We're not looking at dirty snowballs or snowy dirt balls, whatever they want to call them. I mean, if that was the case, they'd be like scoops of ice cream, you know, they'd be melting, they'd be evaporating. They're not. They're rocks, with some of them with high metallic contents. They don't just discharge, they constantly charge and discharge. And you see, you get the different glows and various patterns and signatures. And the high metallic content, that, you know, they can hold a certain charge. Double layers form around them, so that it's not a gradual process. Charge differentials build up in the double layers, and at certain points, those double layers break down and discharge rapidly and brightly, and that's what we're seeing. And they can form filaments around them. If you look at a plasma board that you can buy on the high street, you know, the tendrils of plasma, that's also what we're seeing on these comets, these focused jets. And these focused jets, which are principally, again, electromagnetic, they can act as cosmic thrusters. They can produce anomalous accelerations, decelerations, slight changes of direction. Again, simple plasma EM phenomena.
If you would you explain we're looking at images from, I think, the Naval Observatory in Spain right now of 3I Atlas. These came out just a few days ago. And it does look quite a bit different than the other comets that they show. It's fascinating. And you actually did a great job explaining what is referred to as the anti-tail on this.
Sure.
David, could you describe that for us again, please?
They call it an anti-tail. It's a sunward plume, and according to standard theory, obviously the dust and the tail should be behind the direction of movement, like the streams behind a jet airliner or whatever. But from 3I Atlas, the plume is pointing towards the sun. Again, it's an electrical discharge. If you, in the laboratory, if you have two metal balls, you charge them up, what happens that the sparks jump between them, they don't jump away from them. So you've got the excited plasma, electrically excited by the sun, and occasionally the plume will point that way. The 3I Atlas plume was particularly notable because of its size and its duration. It has actually happened before, sunward plumes, but it's been more noticeable with, in particular, with 3I.
Yeah, and when you brought up the plasma ball that you buy at the mall, right, with the tendrils. Yeah. So the anti-tail is when you're pointing your finger towards the ball and you touch the surface, the plasma stream comes to your finger. So
exactly,
the sun is your finger. So as it's traveling towards the sun, if the charge is correct, then you're going to grow a tail towards the sun. It's that simple.
Really, yes, that's simple indeed. I mean, from an electric universe plasma cosmology perspective, when we look at the universe through radio telescopes, we don't see a vast emptiness. We don't see vast emptiness vacuums between the planets and stars. What we see the filamentary structure of the universe. It looks like the human body, the nervous system or the cardiovascular system of the human body, and the filamentary structure of the universe is kind of the nervous system of the universe, you might say. Transferring energy, communicating. It's a living, breathing, intelligent universe.
Right on.
And as these rocks, the interstellar ones, like 3I Atlas, are moving in between solar systems, they are constantly being bombarded by cosmic rays. And this is probably, there's some process happening, which is sublimating material out of the rock and concentrating metal, because we've got certain types of interstellar objects that have high metallic content. And I think it's the cosmic ray bombardment that is concentrating the metals and exiting all the other elements that we get these. It's weird. So what we've learned in the last few years is that all of these objects contain all the building blocks of DNA. So that means life in the universe is ubiquitous because all these rocks bombard planets. They contain the building blocks. They also have metal. They're also being charged as they move through space like a battery. It is so fascinating why we don't want to grab onto this information and dive in. It's just sad. It shows that science is like broken, or nobody cares about getting to the bottom of things. What are your thoughts, David?
Science has become the church it once mocked. Ironically, it's full of rituals and invisible this and that. I mean, dark matter has basically become the free variable to balance all of the failing equations. It's conveniently invoked every time observations fail to match theory. And now they claim dark matter and not dark energy make up at least 90% of the universe.
And we've wasted $1 trillion trying to find dark matter. $1 trillion. That could feed every homeless people on Earth. It's absolute nonsense. And this needs to stop. I mean,
Yeah, well,
Simmer down now. Simmer down. Simmer down. All right.
no,
Um,
I
yeah.
understand the anger entirely. It's a pretty wretched system. It's there's a large element of corruption to it. When people choose to look the other way and ignore the obvious, then we're talking not just about egos, grants, and prestige. There's a lot of money involved, and a lot of that money's been wasted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Well, you know what? It takes independent researchers, people like you, like Diamond, like me, like those that are watching this podcast, to put this information together and say, look, we've got other data that completely explains or does a really good job explaining some of these anomalies. And I'm fascinated, man. Like I said, I would love it if it was an alien spaceship. Sign me up. Let's go. I want to meet my overlords. I'd be like, we come in peace. But, is it a spaceship? Probably not.
Well, as far back as 2014, the Electric Comet model goes back past there, or right around there, when Comet Ison was coming in. I was observing it the entire time. I predicted that because it was so close to the sun, when it went around the sun, there would be a huge coronal mass ejection. That occurred. So that's more evidence. Plus, the ion tail changed. The luminosity was brighter than it was supposed to be. And now we see this with Comet Lemon, a perfect electric comet with multiple ion tails. David, you've probably seen some of the astrophotography with that.
Sure. I mean, these are electrical interactions. Not only do the comets flare towards the sun, but the sun flares towards them. It's they're trying to establish electrical equilibrium.
Yeah.
But it's not a simple gradual process. Double layers form and break down, and that's why you get the flaring.
Yeah.
If I can, let me ask the next question here. This would be number 3 on the anomaly list. Its nucleus we're referring to 3I Atlas, is about 1 million times more massive than Oumuamua, which I thought was a really cool interstellar object as well. I was fascinated with it. I don't like the artist renditions of flying space turds. I think they could have shown us some better footage with the money they have. I'm just saying, that's my opinion. But anyway, its nucleus is about 1 million times more massive than Oumuamua and 1,000 times more massive than 2I Borisov, while moving faster than both, altogether with a likelihood of less than 0.1%. Your thoughts?
Well, there's no doubt about it. It's a very big, compact comet. It's a huge lump of rock, and it would seem that it also has a high metallic content too.
Yeah, and images that just came out from China's Tianwen-1 show that it is elongated and it's tumbling. Have you seen that imagery?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's like a single pixel.
It's like 8 pixels. Yeah. So I have that if you want to show it, but it's a tumbling barbell. Can I share?
Yeah, please do show it. Let's take a look at that. That'd be great.
How do I share my screen on your?
There's a plus button on the bottom that allows you to share screen, and it just says, yep. Okay.
Got it. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here it is.
And I want to thank you, Diamond, and I want to thank you, David, for being here. David is up at like the brink of dawn. He's out in Norway, so he probably got up at like 4:30 to do this interview. So, David, you're awesome.
It's evening. It's 6 o'clock in the evening here, not 6 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, never mind. Just take back what I just totally said. Well, that's better.
It's all fine.
Cool.
So I shared it.
All right, let's take a look at this. Here we go.
Clearly, that is a tumbling barbell or an elongated object.
Well, that's what the ESA looked like. It looked just like that with the ESA, and people were trying to say that it was some type of like TIE fighter jet or space station or alien spacecraft, and I kind of laughed at them. But yeah, so this is showing actually. Now, do you think that some of it might be outgassing as well? When we look at that ESA footage, and it appears to be structure, and it looks that way because the picture quality is so bad. But is it outgassing too potentially, or is it just it's the dumbbell you're talking about?
Probably some outgassing going on as well, which could also could create the tumbling motion.
Yeah, like 67P Jevernenko, that dumbbell comet, I think was tumbling. Was it not, David?
I think most of them spin around, or in this case, tumble to some extent. Yes. I mean, tying in with the alien hypothesis, early on, a few weeks back now, we were shown what appeared to be like a tubular structure, but I think that was more an artifact of slow imaging, you know.
Right.
Oh
And
yeah.
they even claimed it, and it was actually multiple shots lined up, which formed a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, here's the funny thing. Everyone's claiming that NASA and other scientific institutions are withholding high resolution images of this object. It's absolute nonsense. This is China's best imagery of the object, and it's only 5 pixels. I mean, get over yourself. People just make stuff up. It spreads like wildfire. Everyone believes it. And me and David and Rex can't get the actual information out to the public. It's crazy.
I mean, I'm not adverse to the alien hypothesis at all. I find it very interesting.
Yeah.
From a plasma perspective, we would expect to see our own galaxy, let alone the wider universe, teeming with life. But I'm not sure, you know, extraterrestrials with advanced technology would want to ride, you know, roughshod on a lump of rock. Or I think they'd
Can
have
you
more
imagine
sophisticated technology.
Can you imagine being in a ship that's
Yeah,
tumbling and moving at
yeah,
165,000 miles per hour? Yeah, that sounds great.
Dude, you'd get dizzy. But they've got anti-gravity tech inside of the comet, which
Right.
keeps them secure.
Yeah.
It just looks like a comet. You know, all great theories. I love all this stuff, and I'm going where the data is taking me. And right now, the data is taking me on the electric universe theory here. So I love it. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get to the next one here. This is one that I know. Well, I'm just going to say, okay, number 4. Its arrival time was fine-tuned to bring it within tens of millions of kilometers from Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and be unobservable from Earth at perihelion, with a likelihood of 0.005%.
Oh, yes.
Well, that happens with the planets, doesn't it? They can disappear behind the sun for a while, and we get eclipses and what have you. I don't think that's quite so anomalous as some are suggesting.
Okay. Diamond?
Right. At any random time, if an interstellar object comes into our solar system, it is going to pass certain planets. That's it. I mean, this isn't rocket science. This is just random chance. And no matter when an object comes in, because the planets are always they're not synchronous. They all have different rotational periods. There will be some planets the object gets close to. There has to be.
Sure. I mean, Avi Loeb picked up on one particularly interesting thing, which was that it appears to come from the same region of the sky from which we picked up the famous WOW signal back in 1977. I
Yeah.
thought, well, that's an interesting coincidence. But if we talk about catastrophism, large chunks of rock being blasted off from planets, possibly even this planet in the past. The famous catastrophist Velikovsky, he said he predicted radio signals from the planets and Jupiter in particular many decades ago, and these were considered outrageous. This was considered as outrageous nonsense back then, but it's since been verified, as have so many of his predictions, although they're still scoffed at. So electrically interacting comets could also produce what amount to what appear to be anomalous radio signals.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Velikovsky, fascinating researcher. Okay, so the next one would be, and I think that I'm glad you brought up the WOW signal. Its gas plume contains, and this is number 5, its gas plume contains much more nickel than iron, as found in industrial produced nickel alloys, and a nickel to cyanide ratio that is orders of magnitude larger than all known comets, including 2I Borisov, with a likelihood below 1%. Now, obviously, they've only got 3 interstellar objects to work with here that they are telling us about, but what is your thought on that one?
Well, there you go. It must be a spaceship.
Yeah.
Yes. There you go, guys.
Listen to this. So they're claiming that the nickel iron ratio is off. By who? I mean, like, it's off by what? We've only seen 3 interstellar objects. The objects that are in our solar system that we observe, or that we can that are on the surface of Earth that we pick up and thin section and look at, have equal nickel iron ratio, right? Well, what if interstellar objects have only high concentrations of nickel and we don't know because we've only seen 3 of them? It's like they're dumb. They can't get out of their own way. We don't know anything about interstellar objects. It has nickel, like all of the things we know on our solar system have. It just has more of it. It's not that significant. It's not like 1% of anything. It's just so dumb.
It's off by their expectations.
Yes.
So, you know, why not confront the fact that
It's
perhaps
aliens.
expectations are wrong? You know, perhaps it's not the what's the expression? Sometimes the anomaly proves the rule, but sometimes basically the dirty snowball hypothesis is melting.
Yeah, what is the term that you said in your who said it? They're surprised about the surprises that are surprising them.
Oh, that's a classic Wild Thornhill quote. Yes, it's surprising that they continue to be surprised by all the surprises. Yes, I love that quote.
Well,
they say the exception proves the rule, but I think in this case the rules and the exceptions, well, you know, all that.
So I got to say, Diamond, your filters are almost there today. Like you're doing better. I appreciate it. Diamond just speaks his mind. So folks, don't get offended if you don't agree. That's one thing I love about you, Diamond, is you don't sugarcoat things. It's really interesting. Like I'm fascinated with this object. I'm conceptualizing the nickel alloy. So if this thing is odd from what we know, because it's mainly nickel and it's not producing the iron to go with it, or we're not seeing the iron. Could that be because it's been traveling so far in deep space that all the radiation could have evaporated that or something?
That's what I alluded to earlier. If this object has been bombarded for billions of years or however long it took to get here by cosmic rays, it may change the chemistry. So the objects in our solar system may be more balanced with nickel and iron, but long-term interstellar objects, the iron may all be depleted and it's just only nickel. That's the explanation. It's so simple.
Would you agree with that, David?
Certainly. We keep finding comets which are rich in nickel and poor in water, which it makes no sense for the dirty snowball. In plasma physics, the discharges naturally sort ions and mass and charge. Heavier elements spiral one way, lighter ones another. So it's the comets are kind of the universe's own sorting hat, separating elements electromagnetically.
Okay. And then number 6, I would probably be the same explanation then. Its gas plume contains only 4% water by mass, a primary constituent of familiar comets. Diamond, anything to say, or you just get a
familiar comets? That's not even a reality. There is no such thing as a familiar comet. All the comets that we've looked at, there's some of them that are barbell shaped that are electrically discharging, like 67P. We have astrophotography of that object literally discharging when we're photographing it. David, you've seen those pictures, correct? I mean, you can see it discharging at the surface on 67P when we were there looking at it. Yet they claim it's sublimating ice. But when you're looking at the object, it's a solid terrestrial rock. There's no ice there, and it's discharging off the surface. I don't know. How long do we have to wait until someone figures this out? It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, well, Thornhill used to refer to these focus jets as magic nozzles, because in the dirty snowball hypothesis, they theorize that
they're cryovolcanoes.
There's liquid under the surface, and then you get a hole in the surface, and then the liquid blows out like some kind of geyser. But you know, these long filamentary tendrils, they stretch for a long way in random directions. It's not sublimation. It's not liquid. It's electrical spluttering.
And I find it fascinating that we've got all these examples in the last 10 years of rotating plasma filaments in the tails, which are predicted in the Birkeland current model, and nobody cares. It's just green sublimating ice and blah, blah, blah.
Sure. Here I am in Norway, and Christian Birkeland was a Norwegian, of course, famous Norwegian with his Torella experiments, and he was the first to speculate about all this. And the currents in space are named after him, Birkeland currents. In mainstream cosmology, electricity is considered a kind of interesting, trivial side effect, and that it doesn't really do anything significant. But on the contrary, it's the driving force.
Okay. So the extreme polarization, that can be explained pretty well with the EU model as well. And would you just go over that again with us?
How do you mean by the polarization exactly?
Well, according to number 7, it shows extreme negative polarization, unprecedented for all known comets, including Borisov, with a likelihood below 1%.
Okay. I'm no expert on this. They refer it as polarimetry, don't they? They can measure the light refraction, and 3I Atlas has an unusual negative branch. It's not a light refraction that will be expected from a snowy dirt ball. Again, that speaks to the different elements, the composition of the comet.
That's funny you say snowy dirt ball when they say
Yeah.
dirty snowball.
Well, they used to say dirty snowball, didn't they?
Yeah.
But then more recently, they occasionally say
Snowy dirt ball.
snowy dirt ball, because there's more rock and than they were expecting.
Yeah, Rex, I just shared you a 67p shot where it's discharging, and it's undeniable that these are not cryovolcanoes. It is the surface of the comet being electrically plasma scouring is happening right there. So you can see now the standard model would say each of those vertical white lines would be an underground cryovolcano shooting out. I mean, it's just insane. None of that is happening on this rock. There is no snow underneath the rock. When you look at this object, it's literally a piece of a planet. It looks like there's some sedimentary layers there, maybe some igneous stuff, but it looks like a chunk of a planet that's blasted into space, has been scoured into a barbell, and we are looking at it being scoured. That's what this discharge is.
Those patterns look a lot like auroral patterns, which
Yeah.
we often get to see from here in Oslo.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
there, hidden in plain sight.
It's right there.
I mean, maybe let's do the conspiracy thing for a minute. Maybe they don't want us to know the electrical nature of the universe. Maybe they don't want most people to know the actual cosmology of these asteroids and these comets, so they can, they can keep with their snowball, and then they can say, oh man, that doesn't make sense. So then the population will speculate aliens, and they can just keep these rabbit holes going. I don't know. I'm like, what's the agenda here? Why are people at these levels not showing us this information? Your thoughts, David?
It's an interesting angle because it all seems so obvious. So I'm aware of some of the conspiracy theories, but I guess you should always say never attribute to a conspiracy what's better explained by ignorance. But there's also the theory, which is interesting, that the deep state have a handle on a lot of this electromagnetic stuff, and that they're perhaps experimenting with electromagnetic propulsion and what have you. And this could be one angle that motivates them to keep it somewhat under wraps. It's a possibility.
Yeah. We'll come up with some math. 0.005%. Hello.
I agree with David wholeheartedly on that. There's probably very high tech right now that exists that's using the electrical currents in space as propulsion.
So it would make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, it's not space isn't an empty vacuum. It's alive with plasmas and electromagnetism. So, just tapping into these subtle forces. What's gravity? We say anti-gravitational effects, but if gravity is electromagnetic in some respect, which is a strong possibility, then it would make sense. According to the textbooks, electromagnetism can be shielded, whereas gravity cannot. But I think that's probably an oversimplification. The electromagnetism to which we're familiar might just be a secondary or tertiary electromagnetic effect, secondary or tertiary to actual gravity. which could be the alignment of dipolar alignment of the atomic structure. Wolf Thornhill went into this a bit. It's all speculative, and it's very difficult to measure, but I'm not sure about curved space-time. I think electromagnetism probably makes a lot more sense at many levels.
Okay. And could you explain through the EU or through the plasma hypothesis as well? So when we get to, dang it, where did it go? Yes, near perihelion, it brightened faster than any known comet and was bluer than the sun. Both of you guys have explained this very good, and I was hoping you could do it again for us here on Leap Project.
Well, we expect some brightening as it gets closer to the sun. Some of that could be explained by heating sublimation, but it was brightening and changing colors too far from the sun to be explained by the standard model. But when it flared bright green, that's a classic signature of carbon dioxide being excited by electromagnetism. But the other colors also speak to the differing composition of this comet. It's not, again, it's not an icy snowball.
No, certainly
no
not.
way.
Look at this. Look at that image.
That's a great. Which comet is that?
That's 67P as well.
That's 67P. Okay.
All of these are, yeah.
Yeah, a distorted barbell shape again.
And what's interesting is in the constricted neck of the barbell is where most of the scouring is happening in lots of the images, like this one.
I mean,
and this one. This is why that neck is there, because most of the plasma scouring is happening here in the center. Because as you have a magnet, just like the Earth, we've got auroral belts at the North and South Pole. Those field lines come into the equator. So on an object like this, the North and South would be the big lobes, and the field lines would come into the center here, and that where the electrical excitement is happening, and that's why the scouring is occurring. And most of these objects, most of them are dumbbell or barbell shaped, because if they're electrified, that's where the activity is happening.
That's where the electromagnetic belt tightens, so
Right.
to speak. Yes.
And sometimes the opposite effect occurs. Like Rex, you know about the Death Star moon, right? It has a bulge, an equatorial bulge.
Let's show that off. Let's show that off. I want to show that.
So that's the opposite of this, but it's the same type of effect. So the scouring is happening at the poles as opposed to the equator.
Okay, so Iapetus. Folks, I'm telling you, Iapetus looks identical to the Death Star. It looks literally like the Death Star. And I'm still not 100% convinced it's not the Death Star. But Diamond is going to share with us some really cool EU cosmology on Iapetus. Let me pull this up right here.
Okay.
Boom.
Check this out. I can pull it up, but you can pull it up.
Yeah, got it. Here we go. Iapetus. Now, if you look at the Death Star from Star Wars, it's got the same line that goes around the center, and then like the big giant laser that comes out of it right there. I mean, but see, notice that these are all like hexagon shapes. They don't look like your typical craters. They're hexagon shapes, and that could be possibly explained pretty good with the EU hypothesis.
Like the North Pole of Saturn, you get this hexagon shape, yes. And these hexagon shapes have been recreated in the laboratory with electromagnetic effects. I mean, plasma phenomena are scalable over many orders of magnitude. And this planet looks a lot like some of the concretions that have been found here on Earth.
Yes.
With the ridge line around the middle. And, they can be from just a few millimeters to a few centimeters, inches. But obviously this Iapetus is a scale above that. But it just looks so much like these hematite concretions.
So those concretions are not exclusively geochemical. As a geologist, I was taught these are long geochemical processes. The problem is in the textbooks, they do not talk about telluric currents or anything else like that, which is clearly driving these geochemical processes. And like David said, plasma scaling. So it's just like our model of an element with its orbitals. is the same as looking at a solar system and is the same as looking at a galaxy. There are different scales of the same electromagnetic principles.
As above, so below, the microcosm and the macrocosm.
Yeah.
100%.
So Diamond, explain to us how this 11-mile high ridge gets created around the entire circumference of Iapetus.
The same way that the hematite nodule forms in the sedimentary layers of mud.
What is that?
I mean, it's unexplainable. David, how would you explain it? It's a long-term geochemical plasma-driven. So this is an electromagnetic forces that are creating these shapes that are ubiquitous. It probably also relates to the Fibonacci sequence, has something to do with the electromagnetic environment and why the seeds in a sunflower form that pattern. It's because of the environment it's in. The reason the comets are barbell shaped is because of the environment. It's nothing special. It's not aliens. And so it just is. It is the nature of the universe.
They're natural patterns in nature, yes.
Yes.
In laboratory experiments, a number of EU tinkerers have put different dust and different surfaces down and blasted with them with electricity, and various patterns have been formed, including these circular concretions. So it happens.
You're talking about Billy Yelverton, right? His stuff.
Yeah, that's one name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's I've watched some of his videos. He's done some great stuff.
So you can recreate like all of the landscapes on Earth, like Bryce Canyon, by simply putting sedimentary materials on a plate and electrifying it. And it changes, and then you get hoodoos and spires. You don't just need water and wind erosion. So the complete picture of how landforms on Earth form and all planets is incomplete. It's just not air, wind, and water. There are electrical forces that are creating these. And
water and electricity very often form very similar patterns. Yes.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Like
Star Wars is a documentary.
Let's talk about the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon, all of that eroded material, we can't really find it on the other end. So where did it go?
Where did all the outflow go? Yes, exactly. And it's probably a bit too much in the way of cognitive dissonance for a lot of people to consider that the Grand Canyon was possibly a giant electrical strike or one of the thunderbolts of the gods, which the ancients talked about.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Grand Canyon from distant aerial photography, it looks a lot like smaller lightning strikes in the ground. And if it was cut by water, why did the water flow uphill? Why did it cut a canyon through a high plain? Why did the water not try and go around harder layers of rock? Why did it cut through soft and hard layers of rock? As if they were the same constituents. Yeah, there you go. There's some great pictures. They look like lightning strikes on a grand scale.
And it goes all the way down to the Precambrian. I mean, it literally cuts through the entire sedimentary layer there, all the way to the basement rock.
I'm just showing how much it looks like the Lichtenberg effect.
Yeah, that's exactly what you get from electricity.
Yep. So this, I mean, if there was a giant thunderbolt of the gods, major plasma discharge from a planetary body potentially, and it hit Earth, it would create the Grand Canyon, and the Grand Canyon looks just like this Lichtenberg stuff here, which is made with electricity. And then how about Valles Marineris?
Right. Valles Marineris on Mars. Yeah, it's almost identical. And you've got that classic barbell shape there as well. It looks like a spiral galaxy side on, a classic electrical pattern structure.
So if Mars was close to Arizona and a lightning bolt struck due to electrical discharge, just like static electricity, you could instantly create the Valles Marineris and the Grand Canyon in an instant.
In seconds or minutes, perhaps. Yes. I mean, it would be a terrifying thing to witness, but it's a strong possibility.
Yeah.
Before, was this the Younger Dryas event?
No,
Be
no,
difficult. Possible. It's very difficult to put a time scale on these things, but around about the Younger Dryas, time of the Younger Dryas, was about 12,500 years ago. Things happened, didn't they? Very spectacular things. I don't think it was just a comet and hitting the Earth and floods and what have you. I think it was possibly something far more spectacular than that. Orbit, the planets possibly shifting on their orbits and sparks jumping between them. Again, this all sounds crazy to the uninitiated, but the scars, the electrical scars, are there.
And I think that there's a lot of.
Well, also, there's more evidence, Rex. So if the Grand Canyon was formed in an instant, there is more areas in the West here that are the same. Bryce Canyon. And
Canyonland.
Out at Bryce Canyon specifically, and near there is literally on the plateau here, a canyon that is weathered 1,000 feet down but there's no outlet. So there's no way water could have weathered the canyon. It's just a hole in the earth that you look down into and you say, where did the material go? How is it missing? As a geologist, I was flabbergasted. I'm looking into this hole. There's no way this could be erosion because there's no way for the material to get out.
Yeah, time is a free variable. When these anomalies are pointed out to them, they say, well, perhaps it happened millions of years ago and it all got washed away. But that it doesn't make sense. There's no there's no outflow. That would be significant. In all likelihood, these I mean, around the Grand Canyon, there's some huge rocks as if picked up by a giant and thrown around. Perhaps some of these rocks went into space. But this certainly isn't the outflow where it should be.
Now, Diamond, you had brought up the trench at the bottom of the ocean before, an electrical discharge, haven't you? Or something like there's something under the center of the Earth that's similar to the Iapetus Ridge or something along that line?
Well, I don't think our planet is different than any other celestial body. They all behave similarly, but they're all different based on composition. Like a gas giant is nothing like an Earth or a Mars, but Earth and Mars are probably very similar because of their composition. See, Earth, Mars, Venus, all very similar, but they're all different temperatures, right? Venus is boiling hot, Earth is perfect, and Mars is freezing. It's based on their position, but those three planets, the terrestrial planets, the composition is similar.
I mean, we mentioned Velikovsky earlier. Velikovsky looked at a lot of ancient myths and legends, and he concluded that the ancients were talking about Venus potentially entering our solar system as a comet. And on that basis, he predicted that it would have a very high surface temperatures and that its atmosphere would be rich in carbon dioxide. I mean, this was laughed at when he made the predictions, but decades later, space probes proved him correct. Yet more accurate predictions from Velikovsky based on these ideas.
Yep.
Okay. Wow. Fascinating. Absolutely incredible. And you can definitely see the electrical scarring, or what it looks like electrical scarring. And then if you go back and you read through the Thunderbolt of the Gods, this ancient symbology and religions and deities that were created after certain events. And if you were to look at that as potentially events that took place in the heavens, the planets, the stars, the constellations, the heavens, our solar system, I think Uranus was the original heaven in ancient religion and cultures. It was actually Uranus, which is pretty cool. But I'm fascinated with this. I think this is so cool. And I'm reading through the comments, and 99% of the people absolutely love this. There's like 2 or 3 people in here that are, being your typical trolls, but other than that, it's like 99% awesome. And hey, you got to have a couple trolls in here, right? Especially when it's good. So, if you're on the internet and you're like, oh, Rex is still a big nothing burger after 10 years. Like, dude, relax. Thank you for watching and being a nothing burger for 10 years. The fact that you're still here watching, who's the sucker now? Anyway, sorry, I shouldn't read the chats while I talk to you guys, because anyway,
we have plenty of trolls all over the Thunderbolts project videos. It's nothing new, and it's all good. It helps to amplify the message. You have some discussion. You can see through most of these people because they're so casually dismissive very often.
Yeah,
We are live. We are live, folks. Somebody said this is not, and I agree with you, David. Thank you. Sorry, but somebody said we're not live. Yes, we are. We're live right
Yeah,
now.
we're live. We are live.
And alive.
And I think the key is mythology. And I'm sure David would agree with me. Why is Saturn the second sun? Why were there the dog days of summer, which correspond to the rise of Saturn at a certain point during the summer? It's like, but it's all fake, right? Everything is fake and gay. Everything is fake and gay on the internet. And
that's a deep rabbit. It's a deep rabbit hole. Saturn, it's often the ancients referred to it as the first sun, the best sun,
first and the best,
exemplary sun, and so on and so forth. It's very interesting. The Saturn Day was the first Sabbath day, and so on and so forth. Most religions carry vestiges of Saturn worship. Christmas, Saturnalia, and it's the ancients were it's an ancient obsession,
right? And I don't think I don't think it's recent, David. I don't think it's in the Holocene. I don't think it's Holocene information. I think the human species, everything keeps getting older and older. As far as archaeology, Homo sapiens sapiens, just like us, may go all the way back 500,000 years. We don't know yet. We have evidence to about 320,000, and we've been looking at the sky for hundreds of thousands of years. So clearly, we have hundreds of thousands of years where Saturn could have been our sun without, it doesn't have to be recently that this obsession occurred. It could have been from the deep past.
But we're talking within the span of human memory. But what is the span of humanity? I mean, I find the work of people like Graham Hancock very interesting. His approach to catastrophism, but he only goes so far. I mean, he's done a lot of work with Robert Schoch, interestingly, and Robert Schoch is starting to get into the plasma angle, and he looks at a lot of the old. He looks at a lot of the old petroglyphs, and he says, well, actually, yes, these do resemble plasma formations in the sky. The similarities are very strong. Not just the similarities with the patterns. You've also got the positioning and the alignments. There's a number of factors. So when it comes to catastrophism and the possibility of humanity stretching back much further than is generally acknowledged, the plasma electromagnetic angle opens the doorway to a lot more, to a much broader view.
Right on. Well, okay, so I got one more here from the anomalous behaviors based upon traditional cosmology of 3I Atlas, and it exhibits non-gravitational acceleration, which requires massive evaporation of at least 13% of its mass. But preliminary post-perihelion images do not show evidence for it so far, which is basically, yeah, so go for it.
They're basically proving the dirty snowball is incorrect. It didn't sublimate 13% of its mass. It accelerated because of what we just talked about, the interaction between electromagnetic fields. It passed the sun and it pushed itself away. It accelerated. It's as simple as having two tiny magnets on the kitchen table, and you push your magnet towards one and it pushes it away. That's it.
Yep, and with comets, a little bit more complex as well, because they build up double layers, and when they explode or discharge, you end up with what is effectively a cosmic thruster, in addition to the basic electromagnetic push and pull.
What he said.
In addition to basic magnets. Yeah.
Right on. I want to show off your website. So this is David's website, plasmacosmology.net. Lots of information. Definitely bookmark this. And after this video, jump on over and watch this video on Thunderbolts project. David Drew, 3I Atlas is an electric comet in real-time Thunderbolts. And you can also check out the Magnetic Reversal News and Oppenheimer Ranch project. Diamond and Leah have done some great, I think you've done a podcast on 3I Atlas. You've done many videos on the electric universe cosmology as well, correct?
Yeah, maybe 100.
There you go. Okay. Awesome.
I've just started my own channel as well, Dissonant Dragon on YouTube. So I'll be putting a few videos up there. But a lot of them are basically the same as the Thunderbolts narrations I've done. I've just go into a little bit more detail, and I'll probably cover a few more related subjects as well.
I want to find it. What is it again? So I can
just tap in Dissonant Dragon on YouTube, and it should come up.
Yeah, David, I'll shout you out on my show tonight. You should get a few hundred subs over there so we can get you started.
Well, that would be great. Thank you. I mean, when I was Soup Dragon, I had a couple of thousand subscribers, but they've dropped off over the years. And like I say, I can't get back into that channel. Maybe I will at some point in the future. But dealing with these organizations like Google and YouTube, it's not always easy. A wall of bureaucracy.
Well, we're on Google and YouTube right now, so we better send them some chocolates and flowers and say thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They're great systems, all power to them, but sometimes they're frustrating too.
Oh man, I hear that. I hear that. Well, let's hope for up and up and freedom of speech and freedom of expression and be able to share our minds and ideas. And this has really been just such an amazing podcast. Like, I am so happy that we had a chance to speak, all three of us. I think that this was a great conversation, and the chat comments are amazing. They're like, people love this. So thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate you, both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the most
free speech is a bit of a sore subject in the UK right now. You're very lucky in the States, I can assure you. I'm glad I'm in Norway. I mean,
yeah, we would all be arrested.
How dare you talk about the electric universe? That's so wrong.
This has been the most informative hour on electric comets, electric universe theory that I've ever been a part of.
Awesome. Me too.
Well,
let's do it again. Can we do a follow-up?
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. I'd love to do a follow-up. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. I have too. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here with us. I'm going to leave the links in the video description box. And somebody just asked again, can you please post David's channel? So here it is: Plasma Universe, Dissonant Dragon, El Dragon Dissonante. And hit the bell for all notifications. Also subscribe to the Oppenheimer Ranch Project if you haven't already, and Magnetic Reversal News. And jump on over to our Rumble page. And if you would, please jump on over to our Rumble page and subscribe. It'll take you 90 seconds. It's totally free. And leave a comment for the algorithms and be the change you want to see, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody.